All right. I think we're live. So, yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And I think we have approximately 63 people already waiting. So, wow. Very happy to see everybody. Today, I have a very, very special guest on my channel. And for those that you don't, or for those of you who don't know who Wayne is a professor at the Toronto Metropolitan University. And I've had him on my channel a few times for interviews, and he's also my almost like AI person that I ask all my tourism questions to. So I want to thank you, Wayne, for coming again on my show, and I'm happy to have you back.
Always a pleasure to be here. Love chatting. You know,
Yeah.
let's have a little bit of a nerd day. So,
Yeah, let's have fun with this one because I've been picking your brain a lot on DMs and emails and stuff. And like saying, hey, is this the right thing for me to say, or do I get this right or not? And you've been very helpful on that. But I think today, you have a lot of information, and it's been about what 2 months I think since we last did a call together. So, I think these days in the orange or tangerine, somebody gave me a new nickname, Tangerine Tyrants days. 2 months is like 2 years. So,
yeah.
I think definitely we want to talk, there's a whole list of topics that I'm interested in talking about. And, the first thing that I guess we should get an update on is like the border crossings, right? So, my video that I just did earlier today, it talked about the general, or I guess, countrywide border crossing numbers. And if I remember correctly, it's about 32 point something percent down from 2024. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm happy with that. I mean, obviously, I would love to see that closer to 50%. And on a good note, I keep saying it because I am proud of British Columbia. But I saw that British Columbia crossings in March for land crossings actually reached 55%. So from the start of 2024. So I'm happy to see that. But I wanted to pick your brain on it. I mean, how is it looking right now when it comes to the border crossings? What's the trend like?
Well, generally, we're seeing across the board a pretty strong, people are keeping going. There's that unit of people who have to travel for whatever reason. It could be for
Hmm.
business
Hmm.
travels, could be because they have friends and relatives down there and they need to go see them. It could be, you know, part of a big part of what they do is down there, like competitions and things like that. So
Yeah.
there's always going to be that percentage of people who are going to travel regardless. So the
Hmm.
reality is we're seeing, if you look from 2024 to now, like the amount that's gone down has been tremendous if you think about it
Yeah.
long term.
Hmm.
Now, a couple of the things that's kind of interesting about it is we did see for the first time in April that the numbers were actually higher than 2025 crossing the border.
Really?
Barely, but it was a little bit, yeah.
That's for April?
Yeah, April was up just a little bit higher than 2025,
Hmm.
but still much lower than 2024.
Right.
So
Right.
we are going to see these shifts. Remember, April last year was the time when it was at sort of just starting and it was that big fever at that
Right.
point. So
Yeah.
we probably are going to see the next few months where it's a little bit higher from last year because there would
Hmm.
be some people who are not going to sort of. The thing about boycotts is they do, they start off really strong and then they can peter out a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're still seeing, if we're looking at these numbers, it's well below 2024 levels.
Yeah. Because I remember, like I've been saying it in my videos. I actually thought 2026 numbers, like beginning from January, would basically bottom out. So when the January numbers, February and March came out, I was actually shocked. It is still declining, and
Mhm.
because I think in January, the numbers there, that's when the 51st state nonsense really kind of started. And then I think February was the month that really started the decline. So my thought was that when 2026 starts, we would see the absolute bottom, and then we'll start to see some of these numbers go back up again, right? So I'm very happy I was wrong, and I'm
Mhm.
glad that January, February, and March showed a decrease. So, but you're right. I think last year April was really when it took a nosedive. So, um, you saying that or April was up slightly is not that big of a surprise because I think overall it's still in a big downtrend. So,
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, we had for April in 2024, 2.3 million crossing,
mhm.
1.8 in 2025 and 2.1 in 2026. So it's still well down.
Yeah.
These are still big numbers coming down very quickly.
Yeah. Are the numbers that you're looking at right now land crossing, or is it land and air?
They're border crossings in general.
Okay.
So once again, land crossings are down a lot more than air crossing. But we're also going to see the airlines, we're starting to see that dip now for a couple different reasons. One was price, and the other one's like they've now reduced a bunch of the flights down to the US. So there's less capacity. So, it's kind of interesting because the stuff in the Middle East and the oil prices are affecting travel in like 3 or 4 different ways. The fact is that, already the Canadians traveling down to the US, less people going on flights, so they're going to cancel flights. Airplanes are extremely expensive to run. So if that plane's not full, they're not going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So the second thing is that, we then take a look at this idea that, we have less flights. Well, that means you're going to have less choice. You're going to have to connect through somewhere.
Yeah.
Almost guaranteed. You used to have a bunch of flights from Toronto to LA, and now that's halved, right? Yep. Or even Toronto to New York. The number of flights that you have to choose from is downsized dramatically. Or you have to fly to just one particular airport, right? You're not having choice of which airport in New York you want to go to. So what's happening is your choice is getting eliminated. The cost of everything is rising at the same time. And then you still have the political stuff going on. It's like they're trying to kill their tourism industry. They're doing everything possible. They're working hard at it.
Definitely. And I mean, nothing they're doing right now is trying to promote it. Everything they're doing right now is trying to, build that wall, right? Which it's funny. Like a while ago, I did remember somebody saying, I hope they build that wall because that way the tourism numbers will definitely tank. But, they're kind of doing it slowly on their own. So.
Well, and the thing about it is that as you go along, the industry down there is trying to work with the government because they kind of have to, you know what I mean? The government's the ones that makes the policies. You look at some of the FIFA things with we have an express visa process, and they're not getting nearly the numbers they thought they were going to get for that process. Why? Yeah. A, they didn't promote it because people didn't know about it. B, a lot of people don't want to go through that, especially with all the previous. Like if I know someone's going to go through my whole social media history for the last 5 years, why would I do that?
Yeah, I think that makes no sense. I think that FIFA fast track program or whatever only had 12,000 individuals.
Yeah, so, it was a real low number compared to what they were expecting.
Yeah, I mean 12,000. That's like a quarter of a stadium, or half, a third of a stadium, and that's it. So, it's kind of eye opening to see that this whole big grand program that they that's supposed to get expedited entry into the US for FIFA, it was a drop in the bucket in terms of what they expected. So
yeah, and what we're seeing is we've talked about it on your channel, the room blocks are keep getting lowered.
Yeah.
And and we're also seeing, if you're looking at the number of people who booking flights from Europe to the United States, heck, even to Canada right now, these are quite interesting. It's kind of fascinating to see about when we look at the numbers overall, we're seeing a trend that people are just staying closer to home. And that's typical if you look at the tourism industry throughout time. So if you're going from sort of the mid 1950s where mass tourism kind of began to sort of present, when people feel nervous about the economy and they feel worried about things, they tend to really stay closer to home. And we're starting to see that pattern now. And we're starting to see that even with Canadians staying
close to home, or just avoiding the US and flying over it and going more south, I guess. So
I think you're going to even see the next year or so that domestic travel is going to even rise further. Yeah. So, it's just easier to get in the car and do a 4-day weekend. Or, even with work from home, leisure trips, that I can go work and sit at a cottage somewhere, and enjoy the life afterwards. We're starting to see much more of that kind of happening right now.
Yeah, we have a question from the audience. Grumpy TV 12. He's asking, I have a question about cross-border numbers that both Canadian and US governments produce. Is there a way to separate tourism numbers or tourism travelers and work-related travelers?
The short answer is no.
Mhm.
Because when they enter it into the system, they do ask you what's your thing, and they do categorize it, but
Mhm.
those numbers are amazingly inaccurate.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things because they don't typically release those types of numbers.
Right.
You will see because I'm crossing the border. It's kind of like you're coming back from Buffalo back in the day, and they said how much money did you spend in shopping? And you're
Yeah.
wearing the jeans you bought and the shirt you bought. You know,
Yeah.
we get a lot of that when you're kind of having that kind of dependent, and then when you're flying, you know, they sort of ask you, but not always ask you.
Yeah. What about commercial traffic, like trucks going across? I mean, is there any
Oh
way to separate that?
no, that's all separated. And the
Okay.
way you do that is not look at the border crossing. You actually look at the tolls paid
So the
because
numbers that we're seeing,
they're paying so much more in tolls. So that's how
right.
you differentiate that.
Okay. So the numbers that are always being released by the media, are those including like truck crossings as well, or in commercial crossings?
Yeah, generally they're all crossings.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when you see that sort of that base of a couple million over all the time,
Hmm.
it's that's the base. We still have some close to 50% of our trade going with the US.
Right.
So those numbers are always going to be there. You're
Hmm.
going to have the number of people who work in the US. There's a number of people who live in Canada and work in the US with
Yeah.
TN visas and the equivalents, you know. So
Yeah.
you're always going to have that level.
Yeah, there was one person that emailed me in the early days, probably I think last year, July, August area, and she mentioned because I was I guess back then it was I was doing a lot of on the actual border crossing numbers, and she did mention that she lives in Ontario but crosses into Windsor or Detroit on a daily basis. So by doing that, that's 5 crossings for her, just on a work basis, right? So I guess those are also diluting the numbers as well. So.
Well, and once again, if you're going over to work, but then you go have dinner after work in Detroit,
Mhm.
where you work or leisure.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
So,
this is where it gets a little bit. It's really kind of interesting.
yeah.
So
All right. The next one we got from Lack1294. I'd love to hear Wayne's backstory since he worked in the US himself. What's the difference that he deserved or observed, and why did he decide to come back to Canada?
all right, I'm originally from Toronto. I grew up and was raised actually not that far from where I work. So my office is literally on top of the Eden Center. So I grew up in downtown Toronto. So
Nice.
I did all my education in Canada. So I went to Brock and I did the Waterloo thing for my master's and PhD. Uh, Back then, Canadian universities didn't hire Canadians. You had to
Mm.
go to the US, you had to go to Europe to sort of establish yourself, get a reputation, and then they would think about hiring you back. And that's kind of what happened to me. I spent a year in Pennsylvania, and then I spent 15 years in Charleston, South Carolina, a wonderful place. I understand a lot of politics. My two politicians that I dealt with quite a bit was Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. So I worked with
Ooh.
them quite a bit. It was an
Ooh.
interesting time. Um, you know, Nancy Mace came in just as I was leaving town, and that was interesting. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, the US and Canadian systems are totally different. In the US system is very much there's a pay to play kind of mentality. So I could raise $250,000, $300,000 a year for our program to keep the lights on and do that sort of stuff. But we are heavily integrated with industry. So for example, my research office down there, we were the market intelligence arm for Charleston, South Carolina. So when I
Right.
got there, it was a 1 million person destination. And when I left, it was a 10 million visitor destination, just
Wow.
to kind of give you a sense.
Mm.
So it was a very different, very integrated kind of world. My kids hated it. No, they loved Charleston. They hated it
Yeah.
because I was on the news 3 times a week and there's only 3 channels in town.
So they're
So
always watching you.
yeah, and the thing about Charleston is you had to stop and say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go more than a couple blocks without having to stop and say hi to someone because you knew them. There wasn't a
Right.
restaurant or hotel in that city that I didn't get recognized by someone. It was kind of weird, to be honest with
Hmm.
you. So,
Yeah.
a few years ago, 2020, I have a child with autism. I have another child who doesn't fit into the US system of what's acceptable. Um, and, it was one of those things that it was time to come home. And we actually came home in 2020 through COVID. I've been at TMU ever since. I run the research office here now, which is a lot of fun. And we're building bridges. So one of the reasons I do this media, a lot of profs don't do it. It's not nearly as common in Canada as it is in the US. Well, one of the things, we don't live in an ivory tower. I want to be able to communicate with everyone. I want to be able to be accessible to everyone. And that's sort of where this is important. This is important to be on Guard to Leave, and it's important to be on CBC, and it's important to be on CTV, because information is information. And the more I can share with people and the more I can communicate with others, maybe we can help build something together. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to build sustainable tourism. I don't want to just have this mass tourism that ruins communities. I want to build something that's going to last and actually provide jobs and provide value for communities. And that's a big part of what I try to do.
Great answer. And thank you for the shout out on CBC Radio. That was pretty cool.
I have games, right? So,
Mhm.
for example, right over here, can
Yeah.
you all guess what that is? We'll play that a little bit. I use movie references all the time. You may have noticed my tie's the ducky tie, which is if you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, you'll get that reference. I'm kind of paying off a bet here to, I'll put it in quotation marks, the hottest stat nerd in the country. So the ducky tie is being worn in public. So
Nice. Yeah, I already know what's in the back, so you already told me. So we'll see if the audience can kind of figure out what that is. So, let's see if we have any other questions. One thing on the border crossings that have you heard of any other incidents that have happened at the borders, or any other new policies that the CBP is starting to implement, or have they kind of cooled off on that so far?
No, they're being amazingly consistent. I will say that.
Mhm.
I think people are coming more prepared. To be honest
Yeah.
with you, they've heard everything. They're coming much more prepared, and they're not getting caught off guard, which
Right.
makes a huge difference. So
Mhm.
if you do have to go down the States, I would tell you right now, bring a lot more than you think you would have to do.
Yeah.
Because, for example, they can ask you for your bank records,
Right.
to make sure that you have enough money to come back, and that you're
Yeah.
gonna, like, there are things they can ask you for that you would never have thought about 5 years ago. Heck, even 2 years ago.
So bank records. What else would they potentially be asking you for?
The social media, your social media accounts,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
asking for things like seeing your plane tickets and your return ticket.
Mhm.
They could easily be asking, some of your emails, or what you've done publicly. Like,
Right.
these are all things that are what your position is, what your job is, how much do you get paid.
Mhm.
These are things that can be pretty, believe it or not, standardized questions in a lot, if you're trying to get a visa in a lot of countries. So they can ask anything that you're in another country, right?
Mhm.
Applying for a visa. We are a visa waiver country, so we don't require a visa, but they can still ask us any questions they can ask a visa person applying for a visa for.
Right. Sorry, I just want to interrupt. Thank you, Dalek Beck. Congratulations on GTL for 1 year on YouTube. You know what? Thank you very much. And this 1 year went by so fast, but I didn't actually think I would last more than 3 months, to be honest. But thank you for that, Dalek Beck. Yeah.
No,
So,
let me throw you some flowers though while we're here, right? Because think about this for a second. There's a lot of traditional media who do very good things. Once again, I have very good friends at all the traditional media, but you get to a different audience. You get to one more type of audience, one more type of people that need to have conversations. If you ask me what the problem with society is, it's critical thinking. The reason why someone was asking about authoritarianism earlier, I will tell you right now, if you ask me how the authoritarianism happens, this is one of the differences between Canada and the US that I notice. One, critical thinking. When you have a bunch of standardized tests where people are just telling you what you told them in class and repeating it, you don't critically think anymore. So critical thinking is a big one. And when you lose critical thinking in a society, people start believing whatever they're told. The second thing is, from the time you're small, you have to say the Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance, once again, feels harmless until you've said it every day of your life for how many years?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, no wonder you get the American exceptionalism, because you've been saying stuff. You've been looking at a flag. The military sponsors everything.
Yep.
So you have a flag all the time, everywhere. No matter where you go, you're singing anthems, you're watching military. You know, it is all about freedom. And they equate the military with freedom. So once again, kind of goes to the same thing. And then the third thing is they've stopped teaching things like history, geography, like on a world stage. So, you know, there's some really interesting academic issues right now. So, for example, down at Texas A&M, there was a professor who got in trouble for teaching Plato. Like, you can't, if you're worried about homosexuality, you can't teach anything ancient Greek.
Right.
It was a part of society, you know? And this gets into some really kind of interesting things, but you're not actually teaching any of that. You're teaching what the person was talking about and what ideas they're trying to push forward, you know? So getting that confusion about ideas from indoctrination, which is really kind of funny, because you'll still say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, which is indoctrination, but you can't talk about ideas.
Yep.
This is how you get an authoritarian regime.
Yep. It's very strange. I just thought that, sorry, I wanted to pull this out because I think everybody know who's Bowtie Guy is. I'm so choked over that guy, and it was really heartbreaking to know that one of my favorite clam chowder places was Bowtie Guy. So I just saw that, and it's pretty funny.
But you know, though, I do have a lot of empathy, because a lot of families down there's a lot of societal pressure. You know, the first question I got asked when I went down there is, what church do you go to?
Yeah.
You know, I got asked that all the time. And then when I said I don't go to church, they was, oh, let me tell you about our church. So, you know, it's one of those, once again, I have nothing against religion. I went to Catholic school for 13 years. It was a wonderful experience. But not my thing. But it's such an embedded part of history, of the culture down there, especially in the South, that it's a big thing.
The Tanis, she's my Reddit moderator. Thank you very much, Tawny, for all your help. She's asking, does Dr. Puff have a classroom in his house? No, I think he's at the office right now. So
Yep, I am at the office. I'm on top of the Eden Center. So
nice. Next one. So yeah, we have a question on budgets. So have we got any budgets from tourist cities, states, or border town states where the tourist revenue taxes have dropped significantly? Wayne talked about this the last time. I haven't heard anything yet.
Okay, I pulled up some stuff because you told me about this ahead of time. So if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking at my screen, because you asked me right before this, and I got some of the numbers pulled up. All right, state level. These are all the states that have reported effective January 1st, 2026. So the total effective lodging tax is down 18.75% in combined burden. So
nice. Does it say what states specifically or counties?
I didn't. I just looked at overall general population, because, but I can tell you right now, California, Delaware, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts are all really pretty significantly down. I can tell you, just to give you some broader numbers, and I think these numbers are fairly consistent across a lot of places right now.
I think Oregon is also in trouble as well. I remember
they're all down. Like if you think about the total numbers, the only thing that's kept the numbers up was they jacked up hotel average rates, so the hotel price. So that kind of helped a little bit, because any increase in taxes actually didn't come as from more people staying at the hotels. It actually came from increase in pricing. So just to give you a sense, okay. I'm just looking at one more set here that I pulled up. So it affected general excise tax down 4.75%. So county level taxes were actually up about 3%, believe it or not.
Interesting.
No, but this is, once again, this actually came from upping rates. So
Right.
what we saw,
they up the rates, but the room occupancy could still possibly be down then, right?
oh, it is totally down. And we saw the same thing actually happen in Canada, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the tourism taxes, especially in Toronto, and we haven't talked FIFA yet, but Toronto and Vancouver, they increased the accommodation taxes to pay for those.
Mm-hmm.
Those have really generated a lot of revenue about this. But just to answer the question there, overall in the States right now, they've seen in lodging taxes, and I haven't done like food preparation tax because that's hard to separate tourism from non-tourism. And,
right.
And attractions taxes, once again, that gets a little tougher, but the total effective lodging tax is down almost 19% from last year. So that's
nice.
Nationally, that's millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough to make damage because I've done quite a few reports on budget cuts. Whether they're city programs or funding for like libraries or whatever else. So we know that it's starting to make a difference now. So.
Well, and the thing about it is where it's going to really make a difference is a lot of these border cities. You're already seeing it in Buffalo. You're already seeing it in a lot of the Vermont, places like that, where they're really hurting on the border towns where they lived, especially the smaller places. So a place like Buffalo doesn't actually have the population to sustain the number of businesses that are there.
Right.
So they need the tourism for it to actually work.
Yeah, I think that's the same as well in Bellingham, Blaine, in Washington, and even parts of Seattle. But definitely the border towns and border states are probably suffering the most. So.
Well, and then you look at Vegas and Orlando. Yes, they can attract some of the domestic market to replace, but how long can you do that with the U.S. economy right now where it is? If you look at where gas prices are, like they haven't seen real wage increase in years. So what ends up happening is that K-shaped economy is really going to have a mess down there on the tourism industry. And I would expect this summer it's going to be really ugly.
Yeah, the video I just pushed out earlier today, the official from Port Angeles said that I guess their tourism has kind of been supported by the domestic tourism, but he expects that to go down as well just because of gas prices and everything. So it's definitely having an effect on, it seemed like to me like, this is just from the dozens and dozens of reports I've been just kind of watching. They were relying on the domestic, saying everything's going to be fine, and then all of a sudden now domestic's going to disappear because people can't travel. They can't fill up their gas tanks to get to where they need to go. So I think that's starting to happen now.
Hotel prices have gotten to the point where for a lot of places, people just can't afford it. Who can afford a $400 a night hotel room? Average person. That's just, you're getting into things that are really going to have a really negative effect long term.
Yeah. All right. The next question we have is from Astrid AFK Linteberg 298. Sorry, I definitely mispronounced that one. Is it possible that the chaos and destruction fomented by Trump could spawn a trend towards greater efficiency? Is there any silver lining to this disaster known as the Trump administration?
Well, a couple of different things that we've seen in Canada that's kind of interesting. A lot of first and second generation Canadians are actually really interested in Canadian culture. So we've seen a lot more people. The Via Rail Pass that everyone kind of was extremely successful with young people in particular, traveling around the country via rail. So they've actually brought it back. And that was one that kind of surprised us all that it worked as well as it did. And, you see a lot of people, first and second generation Canadians, which is much bigger population than you would think. They're going to places like the Terry Fox Memorial. the museums in Ottawa. They're going to Montreal, Quebec City. Halifax was a huge destination last year.
Yeah.
You're going to see the whole East Coast, I think, still do very well this year
Yeah.
because people want to see that Canadian culture and understand it and be part of
Yeah.
it. So I
Speaking
think
of
that's
East
one of
Coast,
them.
yeah. Speaking of East Coast, how was your Prince Edward Island trip?
Love PEI.
Yeah.
I always enjoy visiting the universities out there. I've gone to visit in the last little while the UPI. I've gotten to go to Mount St. Vincent, and hopefully I'm going to get to Cape Breton really soon. Yeah, I enjoy getting around the country and talking to students and talking to other faculty and talking to our industry partners. It's all about building bridges, and the more
Yeah.
bridges we can build, the better it will be for everybody. It's kind of it's an interesting kind of process to see. And I just got to meet. I spent sort of a week looking at Capilano universities just north of Vancouver
Nice. Nice.
last week.
I'm very familiar with there still.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
fun to kind of learn about the country and learn about what everyone is doing around the country.
Yeah. So back to the question. I'm actually thinking in terms of efficiency. I mean, I think. Do you think it's right to say that Canadians are more efficient in terms of preparing for their travel now? I mean, because
Well,
obviously, like
definitely.
travel is all over the place. I mean, flights are being canceled. Obviously, we're a trip that you book in like 2 months might not even happen. But aside from that kind of efficiency, what other efficiency do you think will come out of this mess that we're in right now?
Well, our industry's definitely got more efficient. I will tell you that right now. We've gotten the industry as a whole has gotten better at, and this kind of came out of COVID too. So I can't give all the credit to our friends down south. But right now you'll see a lot of hotels. We're a tech industry now. How
Yep.
do you book your rooms? Online.
Yep.
How do you check in? You do it online.
Yep.
We have very much become, people don't understand, hospitality and tourism is now a tech industry.
Yep.
I'm waiting really soon. One of the things that I get an interview request for tipping, and I was like, oh, again. It's a topic everyone has an opinion on, but
Yeah.
it's an important one. But I'm waiting to see really soon. You're going to have restaurants. You remember in the old days, you have to have smoking and non-smoking sections.
Yep.
You're going to soon have tipping and non-tipping sections. In the non-tipping section, you order via QR code. You might have someone bring it to your table, or they might just call your name and you go get your thing. Kind of like what fast food works like, right?
Right.
But then you can have a tipping section where you can choose to have a server and go through the whole business. And
Hmm.
so you're starting to see a lot more creative, innovative ideas coming out of this industry that
Yep.
it was, you're also starting to see things like much better with dealing with people with who are, neurodivergent. You're
Hmm.
getting a lot of people who are much more environmentally sound. These
Yep.
are the types of things that you're starting to see efficiencies within the industry. The airline industry, I will tell you right now, works on efficiency every single day. They have no choice. If they don't, they're going to go the Spirit Airline way, and they
Yeah.
know, everyone knows it.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Spirit Airlines, I guess. But I guess, I mean, with this whole mess that we're in with the U.S. administration, I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know what would be more efficient. I just think everybody's going to be more cautious moving forward. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. I see
All
another
right.
question
Next.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question for Dr. Prof: how do we best support our boycott efforts? How do we combat maple washing? Can these grocery chains be? And I think the message got cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think you got the gist though.
yeah. But I mean, the gist of it, I mean, one thing I do want to people do, I mean, especially on my Discord server, I have a section there for maple washing. If anybody's listening right now and they do see some maple washing incidents, you have to report it to the CFIA and make sure that they're aware of it. And um, I'm happy to feature them and call out these grocery stores and show the photos that you have. So if anybody watching right now does have any incidents, report it and also send it to me. I will be happy to, call them out on my channel. So, but Wade, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
this?
You know what? The true thing about a democracy is that you can vote with your wallet. That's the one thing that this boycott has taught us. When you vote with your wallet, people start to notice. The reason why they're screaming about the alcohol sales in Canada as part of Kuzma is because we voted with our wallets. The reason a lot of these, they're complaining about the lack of tourism, and there's now seeing it in their tax revenues and their tax base and their communities and the jobs and all those type, is because people voted with their wallets. You can have a lot of power voting with your wallet, and the choices you make can be very much, can alter policy quite substantially and quite easily. So once again, everyone has their own thing. Everyone has sort of their own rationales for life. I haven't been down to the States in 2 years, but I do have friends who are in their late 70s who I really would love to go see. They can't travel here in the same way. And people who mentored me for over a decade that I love dearly, and I would love to go see them. And it's it becomes a really difficult choice. I have a friend in LA who's one of my best friends in the world, and I haven't seen her in 2 years.
Right.
I've known her since high school, and she's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I can't, you can't go hang out. And it's just sort of, I can understand why it's really challenging for people to make the choice whether to travel or not.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things too, I mean, my video will be out tomorrow, but I actually do talk about whether or not, let's say the Tangerine Tyrant's gone, and there is a Democratic president in. Do people start going back, right? And I know for a lot of people, the boycott's going to be forever, but there are going to be some that are going to be going back once the Tangerine Tyrant is gone, right? So it's different for everybody. So.
Well, this is the fun part. So you're now getting into my nerdy side. I'm a behavioralist. That's kind of what I do on the nerdy side. And when people have behaviors, when we buy something on a regular basis, when you break patterns, it is really hard to reestablish patterns. This is why, so say, you have a bad habit. Giving up a bad habit is extremely difficult, not because you don't know it's a bad habit, but it's what you do.
Yeah.
So what we've done here, and this is what's going to affect the U.S. tourism industry probably for a generation, is that we broke a lot of people's habits of going down every year, or going down regularly, or just popping down for a weekend, or going to see a Bills game, or going to see whatever it is. We broke those they broke the habits now. They broke the habits of people buying certain types of alcohol. They broke the habits of people buying certain types of products. And what happens is, when there's a vacuum, another one's going to come in and say, oh, why don't you try our product? Why don't you come to our destination? And if they can do a really good job, so this is one of my big things about the Canadian tourism industry. We had a record year last year. Destination Canada must be thrilled and dancing in the room because of the year we had last year. But the question is, did we do a good enough job providing value for that customer, value for that guest, to want to stay in Canada and build a new pattern where they stay here and they enjoy Canada and they get to see the entire country? Did we do good enough job doing that? And that's usually comes down to the question of, can we create connection with people? And so when you break connection, it's hard to reestablish pattern.
Yeah. And, for me, my habit was always going to Bellingham, Blaine, crossing the border. That was almost like a, once every 1 or 2 months thing for me. Sometimes even more if I'm buying a lot of stuff and I'm getting it shipped to the border. But I can't even imagine myself doing that anymore. And it's a habit that was actually quite easy to break. I mean, last year, I was a little disappointed that, I wouldn't be able to take advantage of like the free shipping and just hopping across. But, that subsided really quickly. So, that habit that I had, it was broken within a few days, to be honest. So,
it's extremely difficult to break habits. And, like I went to Brock, which is in St. Catharines, which is just north of Niagara Falls, right? We used to go over to Bills games, and we used to go over, it was the Bills in the 90s when they were like spectacularly good. And we used to go to, we used to go to Sabres games because Leaf games are totally unaffordable, So it's amazing how you can change a whole sort of cultural connection.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think especially we still got what, just under 3 years left, so it's a lot of time for people to continue changing their habits. But obviously, there's going to be some that will head back over once Tangerine Tire's gone. But I think majority of people, or quite a bit of people, have established new patterns. So
Mhm.
yes. So just moving on, I want to thank Thomas for the 6.99. Big difference is dialogue over debate, not winning at all costs. I That must have been something that we were talking about in the past, because I'm about
Yeah.
20 minutes behind on the comments right now. But I want to thank you, Thomas, for the 6.99 donations or super
Can I
chat.
make a
Thank you.
quick comment here? Because I think Thomas
Yep.
has made a really good point. Because
Yep.
one of the things that scares the living daylights out of me is when people don't use power appropriately.
Mhm.
You know, the best leaders are people who use power to make the lives better for everybody. They use their power, they use their abilities, they use their strengths to make the world a better place as a result of what they're doing. Is when
Yep.
people start going, it's all about me, me, me. It's not about anyone else. That's when you get this kind of toxic leadership that we're
Yep.
seeing in a lot of the places. And, I really hope that, I'm a big believer, teach ethics, talk ethics.
Yep.
Everyone's ethics are slightly different based on how you grew up and based on where you're from, based on how you view the world. But you don't always have to like what everyone says. You don't even have to agree with them. But you
Mhm.
do have to respect that they have an opinion. And you do have to try to understand their viewpoint so that you can learn and expand your mind at the same time.
Yep. No, I agree, and that's something that is definitely not happening south of us right now. So
No, we don't. Well, we don't even do it enough in Canada, to be honest with you. I think we should do this a lot more.
yeah. Next one is from Lone Wolf 19801. Thank you for the $5. How do we get common sense and critical thinking back in our society, in your opinion? Seems like it will be an uphill battle.
Yeah, you have to change education. You have to change how education is approached. We spend too much time on memorization. Let's face it, in an AI world,
Mhm.
we're seeing a shift. Like right now, I can pull up numbers within seconds and create spreadsheets within seconds with AI, importing data from Stats Canada, importing data from all kinds of places, and they'll create that. What it can't do, though, it can't help me interpret that information. It can't help me look at why is these trends happening the way they are, understanding society, understanding, and then being able to convey what I know about what we've learned to the bigger audience and
Mhm.
having them buy in on what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How can we be compelling and convincing? And then I always take a look at the last thing. Leadership is about taking really good ideas, getting creating calculated risk, because there's nothing ever, but it's really kind of an interesting thing. How do we create an environment where we develop really strong ethical leaders who want to make a better society?
Yeah. And that's a, I mean, how do you get these leaders? Because, in my opinion, people keep voting for the same thing all the time. So it's especially, I mean, I think the good test is going to be, you know, shit has hit the fan. Will these people continue to vote for shit hitting the fan?
Well,
Right.
and the thing about it is, like, if, I'm a weirdo prof, so kind of take me for what I am here. I don't care about grades. I've never cared about grades. I care about if the person in my class has learned and grown and developed in some way as a result of being in my class. That's what I care about. The
Yep.
grades are just something I report. And the thing about it is, no one's ever going to care about your grades once you leave here. Like,
Mhm.
look at the guy down south. No one has looked at his grades, you know. And I'm sure they were spectacular. Um, but the thing about it is that if imagine if we had a society where everyone wanted to learn and grow because they wanted to learn and grow.
Yeah.
When you only look at outputs, that's when we get ourselves in trouble, and that's what we've seen down south.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree. Next question is from Stephen L5922. Guard the Leaf. Will it be possible to see June, July tourism numbers without FIFA contributions to those baseline numbers? I don't know. You got to ask my teacher on this one.
Yeah, the answer is no. Once again, it's hard to separate them. What you're asking here, and I think this is something I usually don't get into this. This is a longer discussion, so at some point I will put out something for you on this.
Okay.
This is called displacement. So, for example, the idea of is that in June and July in Toronto and Vancouver, we're probably going to be sold out anyway and be really close. So, for example, in Toronto, that's Pride. That's the Jays in town. The Jays are playing the Yankees this year, which automatically would have filled a bunch of hotels downtown anyway.
Right.
The tourism numbers for FIFA for Canada are totally secondary because, yes, it'll drive some business. Yes, it'll drive. It's the marketing value of hosting FIFA that's actually going to be what is important here. So is it going to drive tourism, not just for the 3 weeks or 6 weeks it is, but are we going to drive tourism for the years afterwards? So if you take a look at like the Vancouver Olympics, the number of people who came to Vancouver grew pretty substantially for the next 5-10 years afterwards.
Yeah.
Is that all attributable to the Olympics? Probably not. You know, if you ask people, why did you choose Vancouver? Well, I wanted to go see the mountains. Well, did they know the mountains existed before watching them on the Olympics?
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Good point.
So how do you do that? And that just gets really messy to measure. Nearly impossible. For some reason, my university research ethics won't let me like put tracers on people and stuff like that. You know, so we got to do the best we can, and this is sort of, we can ask people, but when you ask someone, it doesn't mean they always know exactly why they did what they did.
Yeah. I mean, the Olympics in Vancouver, I mean, I was downtown for the full 2 weeks, and I'm not afraid to admit I was pretty much drunk every night, but you know, it was a good party. It would cost the city a lot, but at the same time as well, you're right, because it did get Vancouver and even Whistler on the map. And I have met people, tourists downtown, because I used to live downtown. And whenever I would talk to people there, they actually did say, oh, we wanted to check out Vancouver because we saw it on the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So that is a factor that I can confirm, because I have spoken to tourists that actually said that, right? So they said it looked amazing on TV. So we decided, hey, you know, Vancouver was never on our radar, but we saw it on the Olympics, so let's go check it out. So
yeah, and this is where FIFA gets really, because when you have like 16 cities, you don't have that. So are you going to get the same marketing value as you would otherwise? Really, really challenging.
Yep. Next question you have is from Mela, June 11. What's the general view about the punitive fees placed on foreigners visiting the U.S. national parks? Is there no pushback against the historical environmental minimization? I don't know. I'm going to have to send this one over to my teacher.
No, yes, there is pushback. The national parks do not have the staffing that they need, especially on that scientific side. They've gotten a lot of cuts in the scientific side that's going to have long-term effects on the environmental degradation of those beautiful areas. Right. This goes back to this idea. We did chat about this a few months ago about soft power. People don't realize when people come to the U.S. and they go to Yosemite or they go to one of those, it is the perfect example of soft power. People are seeing the natural beauty of the U.S., how these parks are being preserved, how they become engaged and one with nature. You know, they are a big draw for a lot of people who want to get in their cars and go see things. Like the Grand Canyon live is phenomenal to go visit. You know, seeing the sequoias, you know, there's so many things that are amazing sites in the US, and they're basically saying this isn't important. And it's a really bad soft power message. It really is. Yeah. And it's even doing it to their own population too.
Yeah. I mean, no matter how nice and beautiful and, you know, iconic these national parks are, I mean, I would love to see them, but it's not enough. I don't want to see them enough to actually be able to cross the border and go, right? So,
well, it's also a case of no one wants to feel like they're getting ripped off, right? Yeah. Like, come be my best friend, but give me $100 for being so.
Yeah.
That's not a friend.
Exactly. We have a question here from Dave HS Invisible Quebec. Oh, hey, Dave. Dave is somebody I've been chatting with. He just asked, what part of Pennsylvania were you in?
Hour south of Pittsburgh, in a place called the California University of Pennsylvania. I spent a year there. It was an
Nice.
interesting year. Um, we'll just say that. Great school, great people, interesting culture.
Yeah. Okay. Dave is somebody I'm going to be chatting with very soon. So um, I can probably let everybody know. Dave HS
Yeah.
is the person who initiated the petition 7319. I think the one that I've been discussing about uh, ICE and Homeland Security on Canadian soil. So, yeah, I'm very happy to meet Dave, and we'll be having more talks very soon. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I'm kind of really behind. I apologize, audience.
Yeah.
I'm still about 20 minutes behind on the.
Yeah, let's just rapid fire some of these so that we can get caught up because I know we're getting to the end of our time. So
You know what? I think my wife gave me another 15 minutes, so we can probably go for at
good.
least another 20, 25 minutes. I think so.
All right.
Um, This is a super chat from John D9. John's been one of my long-term viewers. Thank you, John. Thank you for the $10. I used to day trip to Maine from New Brunswick, mostly to buy goods unavailable in Canada. Now all but two are available here in Canadian manufacturers. No need, and especially no desire to ever go to the US again. I totally agree. I mean, my wife and I used to go to Trader Joe's a lot. I mean, if you're on the West Coast, I think you know what Trader Joe's is, and there's just stuff there that you can't get in Vancouver. I mean, technically you could because there was irate Joe's. I think some of the Canadian or Vancouverites might know what that is. It's like a pirated Trader Joe's, but I totally understand the sentiment. I mean, there were things in the U.S. that I used to go downstairs for specifically for, like Irish clam chowder. But you know, I got over it, and I think a lot of Canadians have got over it as well. So.
Yeah, my two youngest were born in the U.S., so they still get U.S. cravings. So there's a sort of there's some frozen food that they would never sell in Canada that they want.
Yeah.
Well, on the other hand, though, I will tell you right now, if I went back down to the States and didn't have like coffee crisp and half my luggage,
Yep.
I would get into some serious trouble. So it does go both ways.
Yeah, I ran out of coffee, Chris. I bought a big bag when I left, but that didn't last very long at all. I think it lasted about maybe 3 weeks and it was gone. So, and I did have a friend that came over last month, and unfortunately, him and his family were traveling light, so I couldn't really ask for too much. I was I'm going off on a tangent here, but when he was coming over, he was like, "Do you want me to bring you anything over?" I'm like, "Do you really want to ask me that?" Right? He's like, "Yeah, I see what I can bring over." So I gave him a whole list, and he's like, "Okay, I can bring over the 2 shirts and a hat that you want. That's about it." I'm like, "Okay."
Well, coffee crisp should be international currency. It really should.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to, I mean, I don't think there's any way I can get stuff from home. I mean, I see a few things here and there, but I'm a little bit too far, I think, to have some Canadian stuff here. So, but yeah. All right, let me go through these. I'm still about 20 minutes. You guys are chatting. You guys must be chatting a lot because every time I try to catch up, I'm still 20 minutes behind. So. This is a super chat from Luminium6149. Thank you very much for the $2. I really appreciate it. Wayne, is there anything you want to mention while I'm looking through to? Oh wait, here's one that's a new one. So this is from Northwest Coast. It must be from BC.
Where?
There's talk of privatizing Canadian imports. Wayne, do you have any insights?
Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. Most of the airports are kind of quasi private public anyway. So, although I will say this right now, you can never have a completely private airport. Why? Because NAVCAN dictates so much, security dictates so much. It's never going to be fully privatized. And it can't be because of the safety regulations, security regulations, with the way travel is regulated throughout the country. It would be extremely difficult to go fully private in this country. So I think what you're going to think.
Yeah, are U.S. airports privatized? I don't know.
No, most of them, once again, they're this quasi public-private thing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was a real fear with the Homeland Security stuff is they were trying to um, would privatize the security in that, because there's a few airports in the United States where the security is privatized, which
Right.
is, I
I think
think
San Francisco
personally,
is one of them too.
yeah, San Francisco is one of them, and
Yeah.
they're trying to show that that was a better model, and so with the shutdown, and I'm not sure that worked particularly well, but especially since it got so brutal. But yeah, it's a airports are fundamentally, all the airlines used to be nationally owned, government owned. And then they went through this trend where they got privatized sort of in the 80s and in the 90s. And, I always joke, one way to make a millionaire is have them buy an airline. It's an easy way to lose a lot of money very quickly. There are very few airlines that are profitable year after year after year. There's too much volatility in the marketplace, and these are really expensive. Every time a jet's sitting on the ground for more than 24 hours, they're losing a lot of money on that plane. So these are the things that are kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the news of this just came out, I think, within the last couple of days. So guess we'll be hearing a little bit more about it coming up. And
yeah,
I'll see. I
think this is going to be more wishful thinking than actual reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully. I mean, I personally, I don't want to see it privatized, and I it shouldn't. I mean, it's something that it's used by the citizens, and I don't think it should be for profit, right? So.
And the thing about it is if you look at something like public transportation, there are people who try. There's a reason there's not a whole lot of private ice rinks. It's just really hard to make money in that field. You need them as a public good, but it's very difficult. Same thing with pools, stuff like that. There are certain things that are just really difficult to make money at, and that's going to need to be provided by government. And I think airports are going to be one of those things. It's very difficult to be profitable with them.
Yeah, let's hope so. This is a comment from CanMav, one of my moderators. He's just helping to post up the maple washing report link. So if you do have any maple washing incidents and you've taken photos and got all the details, you can go to b.link/maple washing. And this link is actually Todd Maffin's, so I'm just kind of stealing it because it's easy to remember. But if anybody does have any maple washing incidents, I highly advise everyone to report it to the CFIA. And the b.link/maple washing will go directly to the CFIA form that you have to fill out. So do you know who Todd Maffin is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, honestly, that's one of the best things about getting doctors and nurses, the reverse brain drain. I was brain drain going one way and then came home, and I'm so happy to see the brain drain coming back to Canada.
Yeah, he's done a lot for Canada, and I'm trying to get him on the channel or have a chat with him, but he's so busy, and I totally respect him. He's got a lot of projects on the go, but he's also in our Discord server. He pops in every so often, but hopefully one day I'll be able to jump on a call with him. So Todd, if you're watching right now, I'm just tapping you on the shoulder, so let me know. All right, let me see if there's any other comments or questions.
All right,
I'm still about
okay. While we're doing this, does anyone want to guess what's in there? We'll give you another 2 minutes, and then I'll show you what this is. So there we go. I'll bring it a little bit closer.
I'm not sure if you can. I don't think they can see on the screen.
I think I need to go this way.
Yeah.
But anyone want to guess what that is?
Let me remove this comment. It might be able to see a little bit better now.
There we go.
So
I'll even hold it up to the thing. Anyone want to guess what this is?
We'll have to see. I mean, we're about 20. I'm about 20 minutes behind on the comments, so we'll probably see if anyone guessed it later. So here's another one from John D9. Thank you for the $5. Asked by Merrick1234. What do you think of the CANUK proposal? That's Canada, Australia, UK proposal.
Hey, yeah.
I'm personally very nervous as it strongly promotes by conservative groups.
You're going to see free trade kind of. This is the thing with middle powers. You're going to start to see more and more free trade between what we call the middle powers. And so this is where this is going. How far that goes, I don't think you're going to see like a European Union type thing where you can work in every country and kind of do that, have that kind of freedom. Although I know lots of people who would probably enjoy that. But you're so geographically far apart. It makes it makes it really challenging. Not impossible. The government systems are pretty common. The economies of the places are pretty common. So if we can get over geography and just say that's a tech thing, it could be interesting. But I don't think. I think you're just like being part of the EU. I think you're going to see Canada have very much closer relationships with our other partners around the globe. I just don't know if you're going to see us go that full length. They're just too much with the U.S. security. To be honest with you, what would happen? It wouldn't be because of us. It'd be because of U.S. security.
Yeah. I think geography plays a big role in. I mean, if we were next door neighbors with, say, Australia or
Yeah.
the UK, I'm pretty sure we'd have stronger ties than we do right now. So, yeah. So this next one is from the Tanis, my Discord, Reddit monitor. Hi, Tani. Thank you for the $5. Can the boycott, being voluntarily grassroots in nature, not in government control, be used as Kuzma leverage, or is it a non-factor in this context?
It's leverage in that we are hurting them economically. Can the government say, "Oh, we're automatically going to open up the floodgates"? And no, it's because it's not that. So they don't have an immediate trigger to say, "Okay, let's do this." So it's a gray area. But the reality is that the alcohol definitely could, because it's somewhat government controlled, like the LCBO in Ontario buying the alcohol and then selling it to us, right? But that's a little bit in government control. But the from the travel context, it's going to be really challenging to sort of bring back that relationship. And I don't think this is going to be used that much in Kuzma, because amazingly, even though it generates a lot of tax revenue, government doesn't typically look at tourism as being really important down south.
Yeah, I mean, well, they definitely don't think it's important right now. So, yeah, so I don't think they're factoring that in when it comes to Kuzma. But at the same time as well, I mean, especially with all of our boycotts and at least maybe even product boycotts or liquor, our efforts are probably going to have some sort of factor in it. I think so. Yep. This next one's from Farrell Senior. Thank you for the $10. Is there a counter advertising movement to keep Canadians to visit Canadian destinations instead of U.S. destinations, like what Buffalo tries? I know the U.S. advertising can be pretty persistent. It's hard for me to kind of tell right now because I'm not physically in Canada, but I know the advertisements that people tell me that are on my channel, they have seen some Canadian advertisements, but that's only one venue of advertisement. But have you seen anything, Wayne?
Well, the reality is our budgets aren't the same as the U.S. So you're not going to see, even Destination Canada's budget doesn't compare to a Las Vegas or Orlando, right?
That's true.
So you're going to see more U.S. advertising just because they pure and simple have more money to advertise. So I think that's more what you're seeing. It's not don't stay in Canada. It's come here to whatever, come to Las Vegas, come to Orlando or whatever. So most destinations don't mention other destinations in their stuff. It happens occasionally, but it's mostly about come here as opposed to not go somewhere else.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I'm actually seeing, me being in Malaysia right now, I'm actually seeing a lot of US travel ads on my videos. So like when I load my videos, I'm just kind of, playing it. They're always travel to Disneyland or travel Orlando or wherever else. And, my IP is coming from Malaysia IP. So they're obviously trying to get people from overseas coming back to the US. But I just find it kind of ironic because they're advertising on my channel, which is, just flushing money down the toilet, if you ask me. So,
well, the thing about it is, though, if you look at it, it's just a matter of scale. It really is. So even Destination Toronto, which is probably the biggest, their budget is still relatively small next to a place like Vegas.
Yeah. And I saw Vegas was gonna put in another $6 million on advertising and marketing, try to get Canadians back. So
yeah, well, in where $6 million would be most of Destination Toronto's entire budget.
Yeah, and that's I think the report that I did said that was focused on getting Canadians back. So not even their international advertisement as well. So I'm just going through the comments. I'm catching up to you guys. I'm at probably about 10 minutes behind.
We're catching up then.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Yeah.
But let's start from
think,
the very beginning, and it's a very good place to start. Yep.
Yeah. No, and we're getting to the comments now where you showed what's in the back, and I think some people are getting it. So,
All right.
yeah, someone here says looks like something off a plane.
It is off an airplane. I will give you that hint. That's definitely true.
Where you delivered the food.
Logo on the front here might give it away a little bit. In the
CanMav says it's Wayne's lunch.
That's another good hint.
Yeah, this one fell off the plane. Yeah, found it on the runway, I guess, right? So
yeah.
This one here, Wayne filled it with coffee, Chris.
Ooh, good idea. I will do that for a class. How about that?
Yeah, you surprise your students and bring it to school one day, and then just have somebody open it up.
No, I like hiding Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So I will bring it down to class one day and put it in on one of the slides hidden, that the first person that comes up gets everything in the box, and have it full of, have it full of Cruffy Crisps. That's a great idea.
Nice. Yeah, coffee crisps and ketchup chips right now. That's what I'm and poutine. I would love to have a poutine right now. So.
Well, it would keep the poutine warm, technically.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess I should open it up since we're.
Yeah, let's.
It sounds like people got it. Yes, It is a warmer.
Yeah, you might have to.
Yeah.
Here, you might have to.
I will do it this way. So there you go. Yeah. Put it in your little tray. There you go.
I have a question. How come you have that?
Oh, old hospitality prop. That I have all kinds of stuff. Over the years, collect the antiques when I can. But yeah, it makes for fun stuff to talk about in class sometimes, just to show people that there is a world. And my bunch of my students, I'm old now. When I first started teaching, I used to say, "Oh, I'm not that much older than you. I could be your older brother," and now I could legitimately be grandpa. So, sometimes it's good to show them the old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah, my staff here, I mean, a lot of them are in the early 20s, maybe late 30s, and I'm teaching them about like cassette tapes and CD players and all that kind of stuff. So I feel old now too. So
I showed them an old computer with the black screen and the green lettering. Boy, did that confuse them for a little while.
Yeah, no, I mean, I told them about how I got into IT, and I can kind of share this story. I think, I mean, I can't remember how old I was. I was definitely probably about 10 years old. My family had an old Intel 486 computer, and my dad had a DOS for Dummies book, and I was just going through it. I was reading it, and I saw a command there, and the command was del *** star, and basically what that means is delete everything. So I ran it, and the computer never turned on again, and eventually I had to fix it myself. So I mean, that's kind of how I got into my tech career. So, but yeah, that's I feel old when it comes to that as well. So, we're caught up now on the questions. One thing that I do want to talk about is FIFA, right? Because obviously it's a huge topic right now, and we got between 30 and 40 days left until. I've always reported that the Europeans, there's proof that there's no spike in flights going to the US. Obviously, we know the hotels are changing gears now. They're not getting the bookings that they wanted. And even the third-party companies that thought they could book up rooms and resell them, they're not selling either. What's your prediction for FIFA, and when it comes to the attendance, the tourism, everything? I guess.
Yeah, this is where it's really interesting, because I wish I had a crystal ball to look into. Right? Are we going to have a Taylor Swift level event? So when Taylor Swift was in Toronto and Vancouver, the place was full. The hotel rates were going crazy. The profitability was so high from that event. But in Toronto, for example, it was in November/December, which is a time of need, where the hotels wouldn't have been full otherwise. So the value of that event was so huge to the city from a tourism perspective, right? The challenge with this one is they're in high tourism seasons already. That sort of June to July 1st weekend type thing, you're getting right into prime tourism season. So the question is, do we have that Taylor Swift level event? Do we have what would be considered in Toronto a normal Pride weekend, which is a very, very good weekend? We sell a good portion of the city out for that, for Pride and for July 1st and for the Jays.
Mhm.
Heck, the Raptors in town, like last week with Cleveland playing both basketball and baseball in Toronto. You should have seen the amount of people from Cleveland on the waterfront last weekend. It was phenomenal to see, and the economic impact from that sports tourism is huge in Toronto, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So when you take a look at all this, so are we now going to displace people who would have came to Toronto? They're going to see a $600 hotel room for that's usually $300, and they're going to, I don't want to do that, right? So are you going to displace people who would have came to Toronto anyways? And once again, I don't know the answer to this. I legitimately don't know. I don't know if the FIFA crowd and the Pride crowd kind of mixes together. I don't know. And what the perception in different marketplaces are. And so are we going to take something where it's a normal time where we're both cities, both Toronto and Vancouver, are doing really, really well, and maybe not do as well with it? So I think there's kind of three futures to it. And my guess is it'll be somewhere in the middle. We're not going to have the Taylor Swift event. I think we kind of see that now. I don't think we're going to be way lower than we would normally. I don't think the displacement is going to be that high. But once again, are we now asking, okay, we're spending millions upon millions of dollars to have the same amount of money that we'd have coming in anyways?
Right.
So this is where the marketing value is a question. How much is that marketing value worth to a city?
Yeah. Do you see the hotel? I mean, we're just over a month until FIFA. Do you think the hotels will start to make a drastic change within, a couple of weeks of the event starting? Because my assumption is, this is just, I'm not an expert or anything, but I'm going to guess that with all these empty hotel rooms, because they're selling for $600 instead of $300, we're going to see a bunch of prices dropping. That's just going to be my guess. But do you think that would probably happen?
I'm looking at the STR numbers right now, and it's hard to tell because the forecasting, I don't get quite that kind of level of data, but it looks right now that the high end will be fine. So if you're looking for a 4 and 5 star hotel, chances are they're going to be sold out and they're going to do well. It's going to be the lower end hotel. When I say lower end, I mean 3 star, 2 star, 1 star, perfectly fine properties, places I prefer actually myself. But they're the ones where the pricing might get a little bit more challenging. I don't think they're going to get the ADR they think they were going to get at the beginning of this. Or sorry, average daily rate. I shouldn't be using acronyms here. So I don't think they're going to get the average price that they thought they were going to get. But I do think they're going to do well because it's summer rates. They'll get a little bit of a premium over last year, but not as high as they thought they were going to get. That's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah. The comment on the screen right now is from Lisa Stott 7205 or 03. I'm showing my dyslexia again. Thanks for the $5. FIFA is asking Toronto for 40 plus 50 per max per day. Yeah, FIFA is asking for a lot. I mean, they're asking for a lot of security. They're asking.
Oh, the security costs will be astronomical. You were talking about it in your video the other day, actually, with the security costs from the Olympics to now and what the differences are. And it's pretty phenomenal. And you add in the stuff in Iran with the terrorism fears much higher as a result. There's some really kind of interesting things going on here. The security level is going to be, absolutely, it may be invasive. So I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point. I hope it's a bunch of people standing around getting paid double time for enjoying the festivities. That's my best hopes for this.
Well, I mean, the 2010 Olympics cost, I mean, I think of the budget, and I'm just trying to remember, but I think the budget was about like 150, 160 million. That blew up to 900 million for the Olympics. But the presence they're saying for FIFA will be a lot more than it was for the Olympics. So I'm really wondering what the security cost is going to cost, or what it's going to be for Vancouver and even Toronto as well. So
it's going to be high.
And the cities are keeping very quiet about it. That's what I'm worried about. So,
And that's
Yeah.
the thing. I don't think they know the cost yet. So
Yeah.
this is going to be one of those things that's going to come out 6 months later. They're going to release it on Friday at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
This will be a
But
Friday dump.
hmm
Not that I'm
yeah.
cynical or anything. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, and personally, I mean, I think everybody knows my stance on FIFA, and I think is it's just something that is the biggest winner out of all of this is Montreal. They said no, and they're probably the city of Montreal is probably just kind of sitting back, looking at all these costs, looking at all these demands, and just kind of eating their popcorn, right? So if in hindsight, yeah, I mean, does Vancouver and Toronto, would they actually go for it if they knew it was going to cost as much? So
yeah, it'll be interesting. These big events though always end up costing a lot more than what you
yeah.
think. It's kind of like building stadiums.
Mhm.
You see the initial price for the stadium. Look at Buffalo.
Mhm.
Look at where
Yeah.
that stadium price is and where it is today. They almost
Yeah.
always end up significantly cost overruns.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I got about another 5 to 10 minutes, I think. I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about and pick your brain on is, we know that Spirit Airlines, I guess as of yesterday, they started canceling flights permanently.
Mhm.
Um, are there any other airlines or, I guess any other airlines that might be in trouble as well? And, what should Canadians and international people watching right now, what should we be kind of watching out for if we're planning vacations in the next year?
Yeah, the airlines are in trouble. They're
Yeah.
just pure, simple in trouble. Um, I sent you a graphic earlier about the pricing of these.
Oh, we got time to show it if you want.
Okay, if you want to show a couple of these, just to
Yeah.
give people a sense of how much the price has gone up and how expensive it is. So if you
Yeah.
can flip on, just flip to a couple of slides down here. Yeah, that's a border. Yeah, there you go. So that's sort of the price, and I'm using Canadian dollars here, so forgive me for those of you who. But we've gone from 76 cents a liter to $1.84 a liter for jet fuel,
Wow.
right? That's a big deal. And just flip to the next one here. You'll see what I'm talking about. Why it's such a big deal.
Sorry. Next slide. Yep.
Yeah. So we're seeing the big effect. We've talked about this already. That the capacity, they're cutting capacities. And
Mhm.
then the longer flights, what they're doing is you're going to see more connector flights just to keep them keep everything at full capacity. There's not going to be a seat beside you very often now. So if you're hoping no one's going to be in the middle seat, someone's going to be in the middle seat. So,
Yeah.
all right, if you flip here, yeah.
Next one.
So here's this is just taking off how much it costs. So if you're
Oh, this is what you were talking about yesterday in the live stream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Boeing 777, so the Airbus 330. So these are the common planes flown by Canadian Airlines. So just to take off, you're talking a Boeing 777 is $4,000 of fuel.
Wow.
So and that's up $2,300. That's just to take off. That's from when you taxi, the plane stops for just a second and then boom, pops off. That 15-minute burn.
Yep.
Yeah. That's sort of what it costs. And if you flick to the next one, I did a slide just for you actually.
Okay.
So this is I did the Hong Kong just because it's Vancouver to Hong Kong, just to give you a sense.
Yeah.
So the distance in the plane, so you're burning on a 777 108,000 liters of fuel. So it is now crossed approximately $200,000 a pop to do that flight and fuel costs. So that's going to end up costing, just to fuel the plane, excludes labor, maintenance, all that sort of stuff, an extra $667 Canadian per seat.
Wow. That's about, you know what? That's because I think I mentioned on my channel before, I was thinking about coming home in May or June, like this month or next month. But unfortunately, with the combination of my work schedule as well as the, cost per the flight, I'm probably going to be delaying it. But that 667 is about right in terms of how much has actually jumped. Because I mean, obviously, the flight prices changes on a daily basis, right? But what I have been noticing is anywhere from like 600 to 800 difference from what it would normally be. So that kind of lines up. So thanks for showing that.
Yeah, no, I thought this would be interesting for everyone to see for a second. Um,
Yeah.
if you flip that off that now, but do you mind if I just take like 2 minutes to say thank you to everyone for coming on out today and
Uh,
spending some
is
time
there
with
any
us?
more slides you want me to?
No, yeah, no, well, that's good. I think that gets the point across.
Okay. All right.
Um, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone coming out, and that I'm always, I always love chatting with everyone, and you know, Guard the Leaf and GTL here is, it's once again an audience I really appreciate, and all the comments I've seen in this Discord or in the chats, and I read it often, and you often make my mind think. So I wanted to thank you all for being so insightful and being thoughtful about what you're saying on these things, and not just, saying nasty things or whatever. We see it in a lot of online places.
Well, Wayne, I think it's really cool that you make yourself available to us, and I think you joining the Discord server, and when people have questions, you're happy to answer them, right? And it's not really, when you see people on the news, or the others, tourism officials or anybody, they're not available to everyday people like us to just ask questions, right? And obviously I'm flooding you with questions, and people within the Discord, they're asking you questions on this and that. So I'm very happy to have you on. And, I think you sharing your information with everybody is very valuable. I mean, I've learned a lot just from this live stream here, and I'm pretty sure a lot in the audience as well. But mainly also because you're answering questions just from everyday citizens like us. So I really appreciate it, Wayne. And, we should definitely do this more often. I think, if whatever your schedule's like, I mean, we could always do this like on a monthly thing or something, or if there's a big event coming up, or the Tangerine Tyrant does something that really screws up the world again, then we can hop on another call again. So
yeah, no, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and this is the first live stream I've done, so it's all a learning curve.
Hey, it's first live stream QA I've ever done. So I'm hopefully it went well. Hopefully the audience got a lot of value out of this. But I'm
hopefully they're not like my class and falling asleep right about now.
Well, you may. I mean, if I was your teacher, if you were my teacher in class, I would actually pay attention. So I mean that I admit I wasn't the best student, especially
neither was I, actually, to be honest with you.
Especially in my elementary school days, I was not the best student. So, but you keep things interesting, and I really appreciate you teaching me as well as the audience as well. On what the current situation is in the world, and giving us an insight, from your profession. Yeah, I just want to mention Saber Bunny. Thank you for the $5. Just a thanks for the great stream and everything you do on your channel. Thank you very much, Saber. I mean, this is the first live stream Q&A thing I've ever done. Hopefully it was okay for everybody. And, like I said, hopefully everybody, gains some sort of value from this from Wayne. And
I'll tell you, when I was doing my PhD, we won't say how many years ago, this would not been something we talked about. So, I enjoy talking to people and being there and learning from others. You guys are all, the thing about it is everyone has something that they can really bring forward, and ideas. And imagine if we lived in a world where we could all share our ideas, and we don't have to, once again, we don't have to like or agree with someone, but we do have to understand them, and we have to consider what their perspective is. And I think if we do that, we'll have a much better world for everybody.
For sure. And I think that's what the world needs right now. So there's a little bit too much me going on right now. So
nothing worse than that whole it's my opinion is the only one that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Not good enough.
Sorry, just to the audience, I appreciate the super chats coming in, but I do have to get going. I'm just going to read out the last few that come in. This one's from Farrell Senior. Thank you for the $2. Thanks for the live and all the answers. Really appreciate it. I mean, this is the first time I did a live Q&A. Hopefully it turned out well, and I do hope to plan to do more in the future. Next one is from Dalek Beck. Thank you for the $2. I'm going to assume that's Australian dollars. GTL, he should be called the Orange Mozzie. Yeah, I mean, I do need to think of new names for him because in the live stream yesterday, apparently calling him the orange guy is a little bit offensive in the Netherlands. So I got to switch it up a little bit, but I'll write that one down and I'll start rotating them around. So thanks for that. And then the last one is from CanMav. This is Prof K. You know Prof K, Wayne. He's in our Discord server. Thank you for the 25 Hong Kong dollars. Next time, Prof Smith, bring the electric slide. Yeah. So thank you very much, Chris. And I'm sure if you do for the audience, if there's anybody that would like to have questions for Wayne, you could join the Discord server. I mean, Wayne does pop in every so often and helps to answer any questions regarding tourism, the boycott numbers, and things like that for the community as well. So if you would like to join the Discord server, you can check out any of my descriptions as well as a pinned comment. There's a link in there if anybody is interested in joining. I got another one. Thank you, Lola Esther. Appreciate it for the $2. Really, thanks for the $2. Thank you, GTL and Professor Wayne. I'm glad everybody. Seems like everybody had a good learning experience on this live chat. And again, I also want to thank you as well, Wayne, for spending some time with us and answering the questions from my community. So,
no, I enjoy it thoroughly and happy to do it again.
Yeah, let's do this again sometime. We'll be in touch, and yeah, we'll maybe we'll make it like a monthly thing, like what I do with Josh, if your schedule permits. But
no, I love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and I like hearing from that crowd.
Awesome, good to hear. All right, well, I think that's it, everybody. I need to get going now, and I do want to thank the audience for stopping by, and hopefully everybody gains some value out of this. So that's it. Thank you very much, Wayne. And just stick around for a little bit on the stream now. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.